I absolutely love edgy and powerful groups in anime, and my favorites are easily the Akatsuki from Naruto and the special great Sorcerers from Jujutsu Kaisen. I mean, it really doesn't get much more quirky, powerful, and fun than any of these guys here. I mean, both groups consist of some of the most broken characters from both universes with some of the most unique powers. And if you're wondering why I'm gonna have these two groups fight each other to the death today, well, I recently rewatched part of Naruto Shippuden up until Pain vs. Naruto, and when I saw him floating over the Hidden Leaf Village, I was like, reminds me a little bit of Gojo. So I wonder if all the special grade sorcerers together could actually take down the Akatsuki. And wouldn't that make for a wonderful video? So let's go. Stepping into the ring are the challengers, the special grades. 4 incredibly strong sorcerers above every other JJK character with the single exception of Sukuna. You see, Jujutsu sorcerers are given a ranking known as a grade, and only 4 people have ever been considered a special grade. Satoru Gojo, Suguru Geto, Yuki Tsukumo, and Yuta Okotsu. Sorry. And standing against those guys is pretty much the coolest squad in anime history, because at the top there is Pain, Itachi, and Tobi, and below them are the brutal Kizame, Kazaku, and Konan, and leading the charge are Deidara, Sasori, and Hidan. Now for the special grades, let's be honest here, they do make quick work of the little guys. After all, each of them has incredibly broken powers, and it's easy to see why these guys are the ones that I chose for the matchup. I mean, Gojo just literally controls the laws of attraction, can create a world-deleting hollow purple, and can't be touched through traditional means thanks to his ultimate power, Infinity. So without going into too much debate here, I would argue that this makes pretty quick work of someone like Hidan, either just completely destroying him or leaving him just an immortal head somewhere in the dirt. And similarly, Gojo's boyfriend Geto over here can literally consume curses, unleashing their devastating potential like he's kind of playing real-life Yu-Gi-Oh! And to be fair, I don't fully know if this power would actually be able to consume Hidan's immortal body, an act of ritual sacrifice combined with jutsu praising his false god, but maybe. Regardless, his broken curses are capable of swarming the enemies, making Deidara's clay and Sasori's puppets struggle to penetrate the special grade defenses. And of course, just waiting in the wings is Yuki, who creates virtual mass, allowing her to imbue her hits with physics-defying power as well. I'm gonna argue that hits this hard could very much break the puppet bodies of Sasori, and then there's also still Yuta. And you'll continue to see that his ability copy may just be this team's biggest chance at actual success here. I mean, of course, he also has insane amounts of cursed energy and has the Queen of Curses, Rika, at his disposal as well, but he's basically able to unleash any curse technique in his arsenal by syncing up with Rika, who is also just a super brutal ally capable of fighting remotely as well. Now, since copy requires body part consuming and the amount of body parts is relative to how much Yuta can actually use his enemy's ability, Hidan might end up hurting the Akatsuki's chances by being on the battlefield. Because if Yuta actually manages to gobble him up, he'd gain access to that death-defying technique when he fully manifests Rika, something that would make even Pain, Itachi, and Tobi's life pretty difficult. Okay, let's slow down a little bit though, but maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here though. I mean, sure, I think most of us would agree that logically speaking, these dudes get washed by the special grades, but I also need to help set the stage here a little bit too. After all, I'm not your top tier, super perfect, expert power scaler, sadly, so as much as I love to, like calculating the rate at which Deidara throws a pebble to calculate his top speed tier is just not something I'm gonna do, all night, so I'm gonna be using some clear logic to define these matchups instead. Now, for starters, obviously, Gojo and Yuta are not as fast as Itachi or Pain on foot. And so I do want to set the stage as, yes, the Naruto characters do move significantly faster, but Yuta and Gojo are absolutely capable of moving at ungodly speeds as well through various means, thanks to the applications of Infinity and Yuta being able to copy Gojo's Infinity as well. And pretty much the same can be said about how hard Naruto characters actually hit, but Hollow Purple and Yuki's infinite mass punches are also capable of some nasty pure destruction as well. So really, the actual problem that I kept running into here was deciding how I should cover the interactions between chakra and cursed energy. That's what it all boils down to. And I gotta be honest, I came across some big issues with how I should actually handle this, since there's really only two options here, and they do bring completely different imbalances into this matchup. First option, we could just choose and say that chakra and cursed energy do just not interact with each other at all, and this heavily favors Jujutsu Kaisen side, surprisingly, since cursed techniques and domain expansions would just basically be completely untouchable and invincible. Now, on the other hand, I could do what the power scaling community likes to call verse equalization and basically let chakra and cursed energy interact with each other, and suddenly Naruto is gaining a huge advantage here since their powers on average are way wilder than those of JJK. Now, if you're curious, in the end I settled this by doing both. I will cover what I believe would happen if the power systems were separate and equalized in two clear segments, starting first with separate. Now, in the world where chakra and cursed energy exist separately, these fights sort of turn into who in the Akatsuki could actually throw hands with the special grade sorcerers, and that's actually where Pain, Toby, and Itachi really step up to the plate. Because they're basically the only characters that have abilities that have a chance of working around all the hacks that the JJK characters use instead. Well, except for Geto, who would probably die pretty quickly either way, honestly. Yeah, unfortunately, I kind of realized that Geto does have some insane potential if his curses do activate, but Itachi could speed blitz him or just put him into a genjutsu, and Pain could speed blitz him and steal his soul on top of that to add insult to injury. Really, the only one that I couldn't fully make that case for was Toby, since he relies on his sight to activate Kamui, the ability that he has that lets him, send parts of his body to another dimension to avoid attacks, and since he couldn't see cursed techniques in this version of the match, I don't know if he'd be able to properly dodge it. So Geto, I will let you go like on a 50-50 with that fight. As for Yuki though, she's a little bit of an odd case here, because I think that the same thing applies to being speed blitzed, but she can also self-destruct into a literal black hole. I mean, yeah, it's sort of a weird gimmick that she's got going on, and really, I don't think there is anything in Naruto that's capable of handling that final move. Yes, Kakashi's Kamui can break through most defenses, and it only sort of behaves like a black hole, but Yuki can literally become one. Really, the only way anyone's defeating her is through the use of an impressive genjutsu, but she has Garuda, her cursed spirit ally, that could wake her up from it as well. But the problem here is that these characters do have insanely strong genjutsu that works on Shinchuriki and other Sharingan users, people who should be resistant to genjutsu otherwise. Meanwhile, the JJK world has just never heard of this, and unless they can actually break it instantly, they'll just get speed blitzed altogether. But let's just say that Yuki does ignore genjutsu or overcomes it. What then? Could Yuki alone solo the Akatsuki? I mean, no, probably not, let's be real here. I will grant her that she may be capable of dealing with their close-up attacks, but range is pretty much her greatest weakness. Even if she fought every member one-on-one, they each have abilities that her curse technique and reverse curse technique healing couldn't account for. Talking about things like Amaterasu's infinite burning flames, the paths of pain, and the almighty push and pull, which would make pretty much short work of her. Now, Toby may be able to get away with a win on a 1v1 as well, but I do think that his best shot is up close and personal, and well, her abilities sort of outdo his gravity dimensional shifting as well. Especially if we follow weird theoretical physics, because black holes might actually just be wormholes to a different dimension or a different part of the universe or a whole new universe altogether, and if that were to be the case, this attack might accidentally also negate trapping Yuki in the Kamui dimension as well. Though we'll admit that later on in this video, Toby may actually prove to be the strongest Akatsuki member when it comes to hacks anyways. Alright, but with Geto and Tsuki covered, it is now time to cover Yuta, whose greatest matchup might actually be Itachi out of all people. I mean, Copy is an incredible curse technique, and if Geto, Yuki, and Gojo are willing to sacrifice an arm and a leg, Literally, Yuta could unleash all of their insane powers on the Akatsuki at the same time and become pretty much a one-man army. This would help him get around Pain and Tobi's weird abilities and gimmicks, unless they put him in Genjutsu first. That's kind of the, elephant in the room. But with Rika, Yuta should be able to break out of it pretty easily. But the same issue of how fast does Yuta break out of this still applies. So yeah, I'm not ignoring Genjutsu completely, I just want to move past it to fully analyze this matchup's other quirks as well. I hope that's okay. Now luckily, Itachi has way more than just Genjutsu, of course. He's also got some insane copying potential and access to the Susanoo, an ability that Yuta will absolutely struggle to break through. Which just makes this matchup an all-out brawl inside of Yuta's domain expansion, authentic mutual love. A super edgy looking world filled with different swords, Yuta can unleash tons of different curse techniques. Every technique that he has gained through copy is now imbued into these blades, and only he can actually use them, which means that the true capacity of this domain relies on how much prep time Yuta has at this point. Did he kind of just eat the arms off of all his friends? Because if so, he could unleash anything from a curse speech technique to boogie woogie all the way up to cleave and dismantle, Yuki's virtual mass, or even the Limitless itself. He could unleash an absolute onslaught of his strongest moves at Itachi, and Itachi would have to cleverly dodge, use his Genjutsu, and keep Yuta at bay with Amaterasu. But seriously, Yuta's domain could be infused with a Jacob's Ladder that drops lightspeed beams of destructive power, or it could be infused with a Cleave and Dismantle to send infinite slashes at Itachi, so how is he going to get around all of these insane options that Yuta will throw at him? Oh yeah, and also, what about Rika? Because she's there too, remember? Does have the Susanoo, one of my absolute favorite powers in all of anime. This Chakra Warrior Armor of Suit has nearly invincible defenses, and Itachi's version is extra broken. Now we do know that this can be broken through with a strong enough hit, so Yuta could just bust through it with a copied virtual mass punch, but if Yuta or Rika get pierced by the Totsuka blade here, it's absolutely game over. In case you didn't know, this legendary blade is an ethereal weapon wielded by Itachi's Susanoo, and it literally traps the user in the ultimate Genjutsu and can even remove someone's soul upon contact, which is just kind of scary. And it activates immediately, meaning that Yuta would have to break through the Susanoo to avoid the Totsuka blade and then kill Itachi before he has the chance to land one single hit or lock eyes and activate Izanami, which is his strongest Genjutsu. So yeah, I kinda hate to say it, Yuta, but unless you unleash a really wild Boogie Woogie teleport and Hollow Purple combo move at once, it's probably gonna be game over. I mean, even if you ended up eating Hidan and became immortal, you'd still just get rocked by the powerful Genjutsu, and you'd only be effectively immortal for the 5 minutes that Rika was actually manifested. And I don't technically even know if you would have access to the Hollow Purple in this body, since it may require the 6 eyes to use to begin with, so I do think that Itachi actually takes this fight. Oh wait, oh god no, oh, I'm so sorry. I think Itachi used a Genjutsu on you, the audience. It's telling you to hit the subscribe button. I guess you have to now. If not, well, let's just say we do know that Itachi has no problem murdering families. I mean, he even killed his own. Okay, that was maybe a bit much. Anyways, this just basically leaves us with Gojo, and admittedly, he's an absolute beast that the Naruto world would absolutely struggle with, because the Limitless and Infinity make it nearly impossible for anyone to hit him. Plus, with the 6 eyes, he's able to completely negate the use of Genjutsu on him completely, making Itachi basically useless. And since some of his strongest powers focus on the Susanoo and its interaction with touching a person or using that chakra, this version of the fight makes Itachi pretty much useless. But trust me, that will not be the case when I cover what happens when chakra and cursed energy do actually interact. Though just because Itachi can't beat Gojo doesn't mean that the other Special Eye homies can't, because Gojo's greatest threats are definitely Pain and Tobi, since both of them might actually have ways around Infinity and could even break his trump card, Domain Expansion Infinite Void, as well. Now that sounds crazy, right? But I do think that I found some ways that these guys could actually get around it, so let's start with Pain versus Gojo, the battle that originally actually inspired this video. Now, let me just say, straight up, this fight, in my head at least, absolutely rules. With the Rinnegan and the 6 paths, Pain can unleash incredible moves that do rival Gojo's powers, I'd say. If Gojo uses blue to create an attractive force, Pain can use Shinda Tensei, aka the almighty push, to basically cancel that out. And if Gojo uses red, then Pain busts out a Chibaku Tensei, aka planetary devastation, to create an attractive force to once again counteract that. And I think that these powers would also let Pain disable the Hollow Purple, since Gojo needs to combine blue and red in order to use it. I mean, heck, there might even be a world where seeing Gojo use Hollow Purple inspires Pain to use a new jutsu combining his powers the very same way. Would be pretty cool, right? Now, I think that this matchup really comes down to if Pain could break through the Infinity and his domain expansion, and let me tell you guys, I don't think that he can. Like, don't get me wrong, the paths of Pain are truly beyond busted, and there's a few abilities that in theory could defeat Gojo, but they do all require direct contact. The Naraka and human paths manipulate the soul directly, something that we do know is absolutely fatal for a Jutsu sorcerer thanks to characters like Sukuna and Mahito, but they do need to touch the opponent to use that jutsu to begin with. Plus, the Rinnegan itself does not have any abilities that hard counter a domain expansion, at least not according to my research, but I might be wrong here, let me know. However, the same can actually not be said for Tobi. Because in my head, Tobi's Kamui might just straight up full counter Gojo, and that's not what I went into this video expecting, honestly. But I mean, a domain expansion and Infinity do rely on targeting a character that's in space and time within this universe, and well, Obito doesn't have to be there if he doesn't want to. Like, we do know that the Kamui Pocket Dimension's position in space and time is locked on a separate plane of existence, but the distance traveled is the same. It's a little bit complicated, so let me try to break it down a little bit better for you here. At some point in the story, Kakashi actually realizes that whenever Obito moves into the Kamui Dimension, his body appears in a corresponding spot in that world as well. So if you run for 2 miles in the Kamui world, you'd appear 2 miles away in the normal world, relative to the direction that you were running into. In fact, this is exactly how Tobi travels underground, goes through walls, and gets away with a lot of other crazy shenanigans in the story. And that also means that Tobi can, in theory, switch to the Kamui dimension or just use his intangibility to break through the Infinity, since he's technically not even in the same universe. And the same would apply to Hollow Purple or the domain expansion, because once that barrier gets thrown up, if Tobi is outside of it, he can basically kill Gojo. Though I will say there is one way around that for Gojo, and it's the fact that domains can actually be moved even after they have been deployed. So let's say that if Gojo was able to catch on to how Tobi's Kamui actually works, well, he could deploy this tactic to get around him or position himself in a way that makes Tobi have to appear inside of its barrier, causing him to process Infinity, giving Gojo the instant win. I'm gonna say that ultimately for me it's kind of a 50-50, and it really comes down to who catches who off guard first. Now, what about the flip side? What happens in a world where chakra and cursed energy behave exactly the same? Well, in that world, the special grade sorcerers are pretty much screwed, because suddenly Kisame, Konan, and Kakuza might actually be able to defeat them all by themselves, and that's because all of them rely on their defenses not being broken. You see, every Akatsuki member is incredibly powerful by Naruto standards, and each of them is actually able to take down tailed beasts in teams of 2. And all of them can easily infuse their chakra into their body parts, essentially mimicking the effects of domain amplification. And this would let them break down authentic mutual love, break through Infinity and the barrier of the infinite void, and even deal with Geto's curse army, of course. So suddenly, all of the jutsu that these guys are throwing out can swarm and deal insane damage to the special grade sorcerers, with maybe the exception of Gojo, but Tobi, Pain, and especially Itachi can suddenly use their abilities to bypass Infinity altogether. The Totsuka blade just completely seals Gojo, and honestly, Itachi becomes way stronger because his Yata mirror now becomes usable as well. In case you're wondering, this is the other spirit weapon that his Susanoo uses, and it negates jutsu by infusing itself with the opposite nature release at the same time. But since chakra and cursed energy behave the same way now, he can just hard counter any curse technique except for maybe Hollow hollow purple, but even then, all that Itachi really has to do is dodge and then hit Gojo with an Izanami while he's charging it up. Oh, Manu, but you said earlier that Gojo ignores Genjutsu altogether with his 6 eyes, and yes, I did say that, but I also said that in that other scenario, Toby might still be able to bypass it, and that all still applies right here, only that now Toby gains access to even greater options with the rest of all his jutsu. But in All Out Brawl, a proper jump jutsu kaisen sort of situation, the special grades get absolutely low diffed by the Akatsuki. I mean, Gojo, you may be my special, but there is nothing special about you guys after the Akatsuki get a hold of you. And I gotta say that this matchup really lit a fire inside of me. Like, I really think that we need a more even matchup since apparently this one wasn't that close in that second scenario. So how about a match between the biggest and baddest sorcerer of all time, Sukuna, and then someone from Naruto, like maybe the devil of the shinobi world, Madara? That sounds absolutely brutal, and if you're like me and want to see what happens when Heaven Concealed meets a malevolent shrine, well, you can check out this video I made covering exactly how that fight would go as well. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you like this video, please do. We got a lot of other cool stuff coming up, and you know, it just really helps the channel out as well if you stick around, so would appreciate that. Otherwise, I hopefully see you in the next one.